Welcome to the TreShow, people. How we doing? What's up? How y'all doing today? New setup. We just trying shit out. We about to get into it. It's a busy week. A lot of stuff to talk about this week. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So first of all, let's talk about some of the Jon Gruden updates and, some of the other stuff that came out about that whole situation. As we all know, Jon Gruden resigned on Monday night. He resigned, and we all kind of expected it once those other emails came out that he would be fired. We have learned since then that the Raiders received those emails. The Raiders received those emails on Friday, and the NFL kind of wanted the Raiders to act accordingly, if you know what I mean. But the Raiders obviously didn't, and so they leaked those emails to the New York Times, and the article was written and everyone found out about them, and it is what it is. So fast forward to Friday, and we have a statement from the NFL that says that nothing else was found in those 650,000 emails. No, nothing else was found at all, guys. Everything else was in the clear. Yeah, that's believable. So the emails likely won't ever be brought to light. We will never know what else was talked about. And I think that was the outcome that most people expected. I don't think anybody expected that we would get the full truth about the emails between Bruce Allen and, well, if they were Bruce Allen's emails, I don't think anyone expected us to get anything else. And Jon Gruden was kind of just the scapegoat for this whole story. And I do think that's the truth here. Rest assured, nothing else was found in those emails except for stuff implicating Jon Gruden. Next story. This is actually a pretty good week for games. The Thursday night game was pretty good. All the way up until tonight's game, which is Monday, which was a very good game by the Titans and the Bills. But let's start off with Thursday. On Thursday Night Football, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeated the Philadelphia Eagles 22-28. Honestly, this game was even closer than I thought it was going to be. Looking at this week's slate of games, I expected the Bucs to really destroy the Eagles. If we're being honest, this seems like a game that the Eagles win pretty easily. The Eagles did cover. The odds were at 7. The Tampa Bay was favored by 7, so the Eagles did cover. If you're into betting, I'm not. I'm just kind of learning. And the over-under was 53, and they ended up with 40-50. So the Eagles covered. If you had Eagles cover and under, maybe you won something. But I definitely didn't expect the Eagles to cover. Tom Brady had a decent game, 297, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. This was a playoff Lenny game. He had 22 carries for 81 yards and 2 scores. Antonio Brown is... I'm sure Antonio Brown just kind of feels vindicated, He was... I'm not going to be one of those people that said he did nothing wrong in Vegas. I guess, were they Vegas at that point, or were they Oakland? No, they were in Oakland still. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say he did nothing wrong when he was in Oakland, but he was kind of saying some stuff about Gruden and Mike Mayock that maybe is the truth. And a lot of people are looking at him like maybe he wasn't crazy back in the day. I still think he was going a little crazy, but whatever. He had 9 catches for 93 in the touchdown. He has his nights where he looks like he's the best receiver on their team, and last night was definitely one of those nights. For the Eagles, Jalen Hurts was 12 of 26 for 115, 1 touchdown and 1 pick. He also added 10 carries for 44 yards. Right now, the biggest problem with the Eagles is that they refuse to run the ball. Miles Sanders has only had 57 carries all season. We're 6 games in. For you people who don't do math like me, that's less than 10 carries a game for your number 1 running back. That's just not a recipe for winning football, especially when he's averaging 4.7 yards a carry. So it's not like he's getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage every play. He's averaging almost 5 yards a carry. So he's doing what he's supposed to do as a running back, but they're just not running the ball. And, some of that, I'm sure, is because of games that they lose, or, games where they're losing, and that's been most of them, that they have to play from behind, like, 42-30, last week's game, the loss against the Cowboys, most of these games where they have to play from behind. But when you don't fear the team running the ball, they can load up the box, and that's exactly what teams do against the Eagles. Or they don't have to load up the box, and they can play coverage and just drive on routes. Play a zone or play a man with space and just drive on routes underneath that come up. And that's how teams like the Panthers played the Eagles. The next game on the docket is the Bengals destroy the Lions 34-11. The Bengals are sitting at 4-2, and I, for one, think the Bengals are for real. The Bayou boys, if you know me, I'm an LSU fan. So I'm a believer. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, they're forming a really great triplet so far this season. And Joe Burrow was 19 of 29 for 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Mixon had 18 carries for 94 yards. Jamar Chase had 4 catches for 97 yards. So they continue on their trajectory as one of the best young triplets in the league. And that's pretty much all I have to say. If you're the Bengals and you want to be taken seriously, this is the game that you're supposed to win. Going to the 6 at this point? Yeah, they're 0-6, Detroit Lions. They're still winless. This is a game that you're expected to win in pretty commanding fashion. And so it's good to see the Bengals win games they're supposed to win, because with all the expectations stuff on this team, it's easy for them not to win games they're supposed to win. And last week, to compete in a game where it's against an upper echelon team in the NFL, and the Bengals have very many opportunities to win that game, and you just don't. That's going to happen sometimes. The team is still young. Nobody's picking them to win the AFC or to compete and go for deep in the playoffs like they're picking Green Bay to do. So, to a certain extent, it's kind of expected that the Bengals lose that game because they're not at the level of the Packers. But to see them compete like that is exactly what you want to see from this team at this point. Jared Goff hasn't thrown a touchdown in the last 3 or 4 weeks, or last 3 out of 4 weeks, Jared Goff has not thrown a touchdown pass. And that's really symptomatic of the problems they have. The Bengals' rush defense was outstanding against the Lions. DeAndre Swift had 13 carries for 24 yards. That's 1.8 yards a carry. Just an abysmal day on offense. The most interesting thing, I would say, came after the game for the Lions, in which head coach Dan Campbell was asked about Goff's performance and what he needed to do. And he basically said that it's not all on him, but that he needs to step up and, put some weight on his shoulders like everybody else is carrying. And some people had an issue with this, but I don't really see it as an issue. Goff is completing 66% of his passes. He has 1,500 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 picks, 6 fumbles. There's 7 touchdowns to 8 turnovers so far this year. That's just... Granted, the Lions knew what they were getting when they traded for Jared Goff. The GM of the Lions was the GM for the Rams, so they knew what they were getting. But I can't blame Dan Campbell for wanting and expecting more from Jared Goff than he's gotten so far. I think that's a valid criticism. And the next game up was the Dolphins and the Jaguars. I want to make a redaction from last week. So, I was wrong about something. There is no hope for the Miami Dolphins. There is no hope whatsoever. And something that I said was that Tua might be screwed because the Dolphins might luck into a number 1 pick with him getting hurt. That's not true because it was either Philadelphia or San Francisco own the Dolphins' first-round pick this year. So they are tanking for another team. And the ironic part about that is this draft, the Texans tanked for the Dolphins. That's why they have Jalen Waddle on the team, is because the Dolphins benefited from the Texans trading them their first-round pick in the Laramie Tunsil deal. And, now a year later they sucked. And now a year later, the Dolphins suck. And one of those two, it's either the 49ers or the Eagles, are benefiting from that. You look at this game, and the Dolphins were up. Tua had a good touchdown pass to Jalen Waddle. And then the Dolphins score, the next 10 points of that game, and they're 13-3. They're up 13-3. Then they score to make it 13-10 at halftime. The Dolphins are winning this game. Third quarter, the Jaguars score, and then the Dolphins score, and then the Jaguars score the last 10 points of the game to win, including the walk-off field goal. And on one side, the streak ends at 21. No, the streak ends at 20 straight losses for the Jaguars, and that's great for Urban Meyer. I think that saves his job. If they lose this game, he's probably done. And so this prolongs his NFL career at least a little bit. It's important for Trevor Lawrence to get his first win. 319 yards, 1 touchdown, 93 passer rating. He was okay. Tua was also pretty good. 329, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 95 rating. It's just hard when the Dolphins are now 1-5. The same thing as the Jaguars to what's going on with the Dolphins. I don't think they should be this bad, and I think the Tua injury has really kind of hurt what they have done, or has really hurt what they've been trying to do with Tua. But this football team is 1-5, and it's really unclear what direction they go from here. This game was the Chiefs and the football team in Washington. The Chiefs get back to 500, winning this game 31-13. Yeah, the Chiefs are back to 500. Washington falls to 2-4. There was some controversy around this game because on Thursday, Washington announced that this week was going to be enshrinement into the Washington Hall of Fame for strong safety or free safety. Safety Sean Taylor. May he rest in peace. Sean Taylor has become one of those just heroes of the NFL. He was killed in his own home defending his family from a home invasion. And he put it all out there, obviously, protect his family. And that's how he played on the field. He was one of the greatest ever. So, rest in peace to him. Sean Taylor. But this was that week, and so a lot of people were very upset that they announced this on Thursday instead of giving people time to I should go to this game, I should do this, plan around it. And instead they were just like, oh yeah, it's happening this weekend, guys. So those of you who are there, we're excited. It's just distasteful, especially when it seems like they're covering up for Bruce Allen and all this stuff with John Gruden this week. And we've learned that it wasn't that. It was just they handled it poorly, which if you know about Washington, handled poorly is their middle name. But it just sucks that it had to happen like this weekend. But in the game, winning fixes all, and that's true of this game. Patrick Mahomes still had 2 picks, and they still turned the ball over quite a bit this game. But, nobody's going to talk about it because they won. But this was the 13-10 game with 10 minutes to go. The high-powered offense saved the Chiefs, as, that's what you pay Mahomes and you pay Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce for. But the truth about this game is that it was a 13-10 game with some time left. With some time left, they made the comeback. But the Chiefs are just playing sloppy football right now. And if they played a quality opponent, they lose this game pretty comfortably. But they were not playing a quality opponent this week. And it's just hard to see how this team fixes it at this point, honestly. With Mahomes, obviously you have a chance to win every game, but the way he's playing and the way the defense is playing, it's just hard to really see the point forward for this team to be real contenders. One of the most interesting games was this Vikings and Panthers game. So both of these teams are sitting at 3-3. And they both had very, very different ways to get there. The Panthers, as you know, started off 0-3 and have since lost 3 straight. And the Vikings started off 0-2 and then beat the Seahawks, lost to the Browns, and have won 2 in a row to be at 3-3. So, same soup, different spoon, just a different way of doing it, I guess, to be 3-3. But this game was back and forth. Vikings make a run in the third quarter. The Panthers match that run in the fourth quarter, and they go to overtime. The Vikings end up winning. I don't know that Sam Darnold, he definitely isn't the guy who he was the first 3 weeks. I think that's obvious. But he's also not the guy that was on the Jets. I don't know what to make of him yet. I think that the Panthers as an organization just look kind of stupid right now because they gave up a lot to get Sam Darnold, and they had Teddy Bridgewater. And last year, Teddy Bridgewater looked good until they lost Christian McCaffrey. And then, he down spiraled. And this year it's been the same thing for Sam Darnold. So what's really the real issue here? Is your quarterback the issue, or is Christian McCaffrey being hurt the issue? And I think that that's the most important thing that the Panthers have to address, is that their offense is so Christian McCaffrey centric that when he's not in the game, they're a mess. And I just contrast that to the Saints with Alvin Kamara, who Alvin Kamara could be in a similar role to Christian McCaffrey, to where he could get 20 carries a game and 15 catches. But Sean Payton specifically likes to keep another running back to not have that happen to Christian McCaffrey or to Alvin Kamara. And I think that in times like this, where we've seen the last 2 years Christian McCaffrey be ravaged with injuries after he had, was it 1,000 rushing yards? Yeah, 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards, or maybe 2,000. No, 1,000. Yeah, he wouldn't have 2,000 receiving yards. 1,000 rushing yards. The season after the season last year, he missed most of the year, and then this year he's missed most of the year too. It's good coaching, and it shows that you can still use your generational talent at running back without your offense only needing to center around that guy. The Colts beat the Texans 31-3. The Colts are a couple bad snaps and bad executed plays away from being 4-2. They gave up the lead last week to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Lamar Jackson for MVP, by the way. Him and Kyler Murray right now are 1-2, and Kyler Murray's obviously number 1. But not a lot to say about that game. 31-3, divisional opponent. The Texans aren't, the Texans are the Texans. They won't win another game until Tyrod Taylor comes back. Again, another one with the Rams and the Giants, 38-11. Daniel Jones is a turnover machine. He was a mistake with the 6th pick or the 3rd pick, whatever they took him with. It was top 10, and everyone told the Giants that it was a mistake, and they don't believe it. But maybe this is why they should really listen, because it was such a mistake to draft him as high as they did. And I just feel bad for Saquon. He's not locked up, so hopefully he goes on to a better ran team than the Giants are. But Daniel Jones isn't the answer. You get all these weapons around him, and none of them can stay healthy. It's just the Giants are a mess, and the Rams took advantage of that and beat a team they should have beat. The last game in the morning was this Ravens and Chargers game, which, when you look at it on paper, you have the 4-1 Ravens, the 4-1 Chargers. This was your game of the week, and the Ravens won 34-6. This wasn't Lamar Jackson's best game, but I think on paper it wasn't his best game. But I think when you look at the plays he actually made, that this was probably one of his best passing performances this week and last week, to where he was making plays in the pocket that we haven't seen from Lamar and that we've wanted to see from Lamar. And this just shows the progression that he has. Just had no way to stop the run this week. The Ravens had 187 rushing yards to the Chargers 26. No matter who it was, Latavius Murray, Devontae Freeman, Le'Veon Bell, all of the 2016 all running back list, they all ate. And, the Chargers didn't look that bad, but they didn't look that good either. Justin Herbert had 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. It just wasn't their day, and that happens sometimes, but it's about how they bounce back. That's the most important thing. But there's nothing else you can say. Lamar Jackson has been sensational this year, and he continues to be an MVP candidate. And right now, like I said, he's 1-2 right there with Kyler Murray, who's the front runner right now. Moving on to the afternoon games, the Cardinals beat the Browns 37-14. The Cardinals are for real. I've mentioned Kyler Murray already twice this episode. That should tell you what I think of them. They're scary. They play offense. They play defense. They rush the passer. They can run the ball. They can pass the ball. Kyler Murray is sensational. 229, 4 touchdowns, 20 of 30. Only 2 sacks. James Conner had 16 for 71. Chase Edmonds 4 for 46. Baker Mayfield re-injured his shoulder, and how he acted after the press conference made me think that he's not right, and that's obvious in the play on the field. And it wouldn't surprise me if they shut him down for some time, but also it's not his throwing shoulder, so he can go out there with one arm, and I'm sure that's what's going to happen until it gets worse, or he just plays himself off the field. But right now the Browns are struggling. They didn't have their own line, but that's not an excuse. You have 5 really good O-linemen, and most teams don't have one and are still, able to compete. They didn't have Nick Chubb this game, and Kareem Hunt left the game with a strained hamstring, it was a calf for Kareem Hunt, and he will be out a few weeks. And it's just one of those things where, again, the Browns are supposed to be Super Bowl contenders this year, and yeah, so far they definitely have not lived up to that. They are sitting at 3-3, right? Or are they 4-2? Yeah, they're 3-3, and they're third in their division right now, behind the Ravens and the Bengals, and they have to play all their division games still. So it's going to be a struggle for them, but we'll just have to see if they can turn it around. The Bears and the Packers played, and this is another game that was pretty tight. The Packers probably never felt like they were going to lose, but there were some times where they had to make some drives to really put the game away. And the last touchdown, it was 17-14. Packers were winning. They were driving, and Aaron Rodgers has this play where it's a broken play. He rushes out to the right, and he, dives, reaches for the pylon, he scores. And as he gets up, he does the discount double check, and that was my childhood, watching him do that. So I thought that was funny. And then he tells some Chicago fans in the stands, I still own you. And he can do that. He's like 21-5 all time against the Bears. So he does own you, Chicago. I regret to inform you that Aaron Rodgers is your daddy. And it'll stay that way until he is gone. But, maybe the next era, Justin Fields versus Jordan Love, you guys will be 21-5. Do I doubt it? As long as Matt Nagy is your coach, yes, I doubt it. But who knows, I don't get paid to do this yet. So you have hope. The next game on the docket was this Cowboys and Patriots game. This was a brilliant game. It went to overtime. Trevon Diggs kept his pick streak alive. He had a pick 6 of Mac Jones in this one. Dak Prescott was 445 yards, 36 to 51, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Zeke had 70 yards on the ground. CeeDee Lamb is their number 1 receiver. And I'm sorry for all the Amari Cooper fans, but CeeDee Lamb is the number 1 receiver on the Cowboys. And I don't think it's particularly close. Mac Jones had 229, 2 touchdowns, that 1 interception that I mentioned. Damian, right? Yeah, Damian Harris had 18 carries for 101 yards. And these were the type of games that the Cowboys of past years lost, you know? Trevon Diggs had that pick 6 of Mac Jones, and then 2 plays later, there's a bad coverage between him and the safety, a miscommunication that leads to a touchdown, and the Patriots take the lead on that play. And, you know, that would normally be the end of the game for the Cowboys. But, you know, they fight back, they make the plays, they take the game into overtime, and then in overtime, they ultimately win the game. And that's why this Cowboy team feels different to me. It feels like they're one of the better teams in the NFC. Them, the Cardinals, the Rams, the Bucs, obviously, they feel like the top of the NFC. I still feel like the Saints are there. They're a step below those teams, admittedly, but they still have the defense, and they're still missing 9 starters. So maybe healthy, they'll be on that level. But the Cowboys are obviously there, and you know, the Patriots are going to go through this as they have a young quarterback, but I feel like these are the type of games where last week compared to this week, you're playing the Texans and you have a similar situation and you win the game tight, whereas this week you're playing a better team, you lose the game tight. But the thing that matters is that you were in position to win both of those games. The last game in the afternoon cycle was the Raiders beating the Broncos. Now, the Raiders and the Broncos was a battle of 3-2 teams. One was going to be 3-3 after being 3-0. The other obviously being 4-2. And the Raiders were of the whole John Gruden thing. You know, everything that happened with him, resigning, being fired, all this stuff, right? And the Raiders just looked good. Like, Derek Carr just looked like a top 10 quarterback in the league, and I think that's where he is. I think he is a top 10 quarterback. The offense just looks so much better without John Gruden there, because John Gruden felt like very stuck in his ways, and I think that affected the offense. But this week was really good. They utilized Kenyon Drake the best he in the role he should be. There was a play where there was a couple plays that stood out in this game, but there was a play specifically right before the end of the half where they put Kenyon Drake on a I don't even know what the route would be called, but he went like like a scissor, I think. So he went like on a slant, and then he went up, and then he went like a flag post to the pylon, and that's what he does. He's a receiving back, and so it's good to see him utilized that way. You know, John Gruden was putting him between the tackles and trying to use him that way, and that is not what he does. And it was just cool to see him be utilized the way he's supposed to be utilized. There was a play where Darren Waller caught a sideline pass and was like, "Oh, what receiver caught that?" Oh, it was Darren Waller, the tight end, right? It was just one of those plays, and he was very good. Teddy Bridgewater threw 3 picks, which if you know Teddy, you know that's very uncharacteristic of him. He's one of those guys who's known to not turn the ball over, and I thought that was interesting. Trevon Moorhead got his first career interception this game, but the Raiders just looked full of life and like they were ready to take on the rest of the year, and I hope they are. You know, I would love for the Raiders to make the playoffs and really bounce back after everything that they said or everything that has transpired this year. And, you know, they have the Eagles next week, then the bye, then the Giants, then the Chiefs. And after that Chiefs game, it gets real, right? Or after the Giants game, it gets real. You have the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Cowboys, Washington, the Chiefs, the Browns, the Broncos, and the Colts and the Chargers to end the year. So we'll know if the Raiders are legit in the next coming weeks. But until then, this is a great win, and that's all you can really ask for. The Steelers and the Seahawks went to overtime. This just shows how bad the Steelers are, in my opinion, that Geno Smith, who hasn't started a game in multiple seasons, was 23 of 32 for 209 and a touchdown against this defense. Alex Collins had 20 carries for 101 yards. The Steelers are a 500 football team, and I think they'll be lucky to be 500. They're just not very good, and squeaking out a win against this team under these circumstances really proves that. And only having 229 passing yards against a historically bad Seattle passing defense does not bode well for how this team will go forward. And it's Big Ben. It's time to play Dwayne Haskins. I don't think it happens. I think that similar to Drew Brees last year, I think they just write it out with Ben because this is the last one. But it's time to see what you have in Dwayne Haskins, because I think that he's the better quarterback at this point, quite frankly. I think Dwayne Haskins is the better quarterback. And as of today, the Seahawks said they were in talks with Cam Newton. And I think that's the right move. I don't think Geno will win you games. I think if you want any chance of staying afloat in the playoff race, you go get Cam Newton, see what he has for the next 7 weeks, that we could see Russell Wilson out. And I think that's the proper move here. The Monday night game this week is the Titans and the Bills. This was a great game. Most people think the Bills would run away with this game because the Titans just haven't lived up to really what we felt like they should be this year. Most people felt like they should be a Super Bowl contender. A lot of people felt like the Cardinals were the Titans this year, right? A lot of people felt like they should be 6-0 and undefeated, and that just hasn't been how this year has really panned out. Speaking of that, they lose to the Cardinals week 1, 38-13. And they win the next 2 games, Seahawks and Colts, and they lose to the Jets last week. This just has been a roller coaster of a season for the Titans, but they win this game, and this was another one of those games where it just came down to Derrick Henry being unstoppable. 20 carries, 143, 3 touchdowns. I needed a 4th touchdown for my fantasy team. I went into Monday night down by 40-something, and I had the kicker for the Bills and Derrick Henry. And that last play, if the Bills kick a field goal and then they go to overtime, Derrick Henry scores a touchdown, I win. But instead I lost by 8. So I did not like that decision to go for that. But it was a great game. It came down to the last play in which the Bills ran a quarterback sneak on 4th and 1 to try to win the game. They were at the 4, which didn't make a lot of sense to me why they would go for that. But you kick the field goal. I guess it's the old adage of if you're on the road, you go for the win. If you're at home, you play for overtime. That's the only explanation that I have for why they would choose to go for that. But hey, they made that decision. They did that, and the Titans won this game to go to 4-2. So that is it. That's all we have from the NFL. Notably, tomorrow the NBA season starts, and it's gonna be great. The Nets and the Bucks play for this first game. The Bucks obviously coming off an NBA championship. The Nets feel like they would have done that if they weren't injured. KD, if he didn't wear a size 17 and he only wore like a 14, then the Nets beat the Bucks, and they're in the conference finals and maybe the finals if they get past Atlanta, which they would have. And so that'll be an interesting game. And then the Lakers and the Warriors play. I expect the Warriors to win this game. I just feel like the marriage between Westbrook and LeBron it'll work, but there's gonna be a lot of how do I say this, growing pains early on, and so I definitely think the Warriors will take this one. But I'm excited for the NBA season to be back. My Suns play tomorrow or Wednesday at 7, so I'll probably be watching that game. I think that's it for right now. I hope y'all are having a splendid day. I hope it continues that way. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.